Wow, man, what a amazing day we had today. Wow, 1,000 subscribers, guys. I 100% appreciate that, and I thank you guys so much, man. I did a video today about the signing of the Trump signing to get rid of the Department of Education, and here's Karoline Leavitt, press secretary, describing what's going to happen next. And here comes three beautiful young ladies. Here they come. We'll talk in the middle. I got a couple breaking news to bring to you guys' attention.
And right here on Live Down from Fox.
Where was their criticism of our nation's failing test scores for the last several decades?
Right,
the Department of Education was founded in the 1970s, and since then we have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer?
Right.
Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient. Our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math, and science test scores. The numbers prove that, and this president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states. We're going to have a great event here later at 4 o'clock. There will be students here, teachers here, parents here, educators, and of course governors from around the country who are very excited about taking on this responsibility to educate our nation's students.
Who's going to run federal student loans?
So the Department of Education will...
I'll have that video linked in the description.
Be much smaller than it is today. As you know, the president's executive order directed Linda McMahon to greatly minimize the agency. So when it comes to student loans and Pell Grants, those will still be run out of the Department of Education. But we don't need to be spending more than $3 trillion over the course of a few decades on a department that's clearly failing in its initial intention to educate our students.
So is the federal...
Yeah, I mean, seriously, what is you guys' opinion about whether it should be in the state's hands or the government's hands? Me personally, I think the government has been failing our children. They haven't been getting the best opportunities. I think our states, I don't know about my state here in Michigan. I think they suck because they got a Democrat governor, but I think some of the Republican states can do a lot better. And once you start seeing other states getting better scores, then you're going to want to push for the same.
You said it's going to be much smaller than it is. Is it not going to be shut down completely? And then I have a second question.
As I said, Pell Grants and student loans will still be run out of the department in Washington, D.C., but the great responsibility of educating our nation's students will return to the states.
And the Department of Education plays a critical role in enforcing civil rights laws that prohibit discrimination. Who's going to do that now?
Any critical functions of the department, such as that, will remain. But again, we're greatly reducing the scale and the size of this department.
What about federal Title I funding and special education funding? Is that still good?
Same answer. Yes.
Thanks, Caroline. On the Federal Reserve, the president criticized the rate decision yesterday. Is he looking to replace members of the Federal Reserve Board like he did on the Federal Trade Commission?
Well, the president has appointed Mickey Bowman, as you know, to be the vice chair of the Federal Reserve. We're incredibly optimistic about her. She's on the ball, as the president says, and knows how to get things done. The president has every right to criticize the decision, and he's made it very clear that he believes in lower interest rates are going to help this country boom. And this administration is working on lowering the rate of inflation caused by the previous administration every day. Inflation is cooling. The numbers indicate that, and the president strongly believes in low interest rates, and I think the American public do too.
Caroline, on the deportation flights, Caroline, you've said that you're confident that you've complied with the judge's order. If that's the case, then why not turn over the information about the flights?
We are 100% confident that we've complied, and as I said from the podium and will continue to say, all of the flights that were subject to the written order of the judge took off before the written order was pushed in the courtroom, and the president is well within his Article 2 power and his authority under the Alien Enemies Act to make these decisions. And we think it's egregious that a single district judge is trying to tell the president of the United States who he can and cannot deport from our our soil, especially when it comes to designated foreign terrorists.
What about the turning over that information?
Jeff, go ahead.
The administration is getting some attention this week for a memo that was released, I think, a couple weeks ago, taking segregation out of the criteria for federal contracting. Can you explain what that memo was supposed to do? And if you're looking to, I presume you're not looking for segregation to come back, but can you explain what the reason for the memo was?
Did the memo come from the White House, or was it from an agency?
It was from the administration. I think it was OPM.
Okay, I would defer you to whichever agency wrote that memo. I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to it.
There is a couple different things here. President Trump put out on True Social, if a president does not have the right to throw murderers and other criminals out of our country because a radical left lunatic judge wants to assume the role of president, then our country is in a very big trouble and destined to fail. Another one I heard was former Rep. Cori Bush. Her husband has been indicted for wire fraud, accused of falsifying application to obtain COVID relief funds. That's Cori Bush, her husband. All right, back to the press briefing.
Go ahead, Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. This executive order dismantles the department. To abolish it completely requires Congress to act. Is the administration asking Congress to codify Trump's executive order to abolish the department?
I'll leave it to the president to speak on that later. 4 o'clock. Sure.
Anything is the president doing about Gaza? Is he trying to get the ceasefire back in play? What's his plan?
Well, the president made it very clear to Hamas that if they did not release all of the hostages, there would be all hell to pay. And unfortunately, Hamas chose to play games in the media with lives. This situation, let's not forget, is completely the fault of Hamas when they launched that brutal attack on Israel on October 7th. And the president has made it very clear that he wants all of those hostages to come home, and he fully supports Israel and the IDF and the actions that they've taken in recent days. Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
The president would like to see American schools and
If you have a chair, a phone, and 7 minutes a day, you can get toned before April 1st. How does it
students reach over the next 4 years after he signs the CO?
Well, again, in the intent of this EO is to return this great responsibility back to the states. And we know, we believe in federalism here at the White House. I know the previous administration didn't, but we think decisions are best made when they're closest to the people. And we trust teachers.
That's the problem nowadays. That's why everybody's getting mad, because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have a president that's actually going by the rules, how it's supposed to be ran. And so everybody's crying foul. But it'd be all right, guys. It'll be all right. Here, I'll pat your head, give you a firm back rub. It'll be all right. Nobody's going to get hurt.
Teachers and educators in their respective schools to make these very important decisions about our children's education and their futures. And the current status quo is failing our students. In fact, I have some facts right here. 13-year-olds' mathematics scores are the lowest they have been in decades. 13-year-olds' reading scores are the lowest since testing began over 30 years ago. Low-performing students are falling further behind. One city, Baltimore, Maryland, in 2023, high schools had 0 students who tested proficient in mathematics. As a mother myself, I know I share the concern of many parents across the country. We want our children to be bright and smart and ahead of the game. This is also, I would say, a national security issue. When you look at how students around the world, particularly in China, are being educated, American students are falling behind. We're not keeping up with our allies or our adversaries, and that's a major problem for our country. And the president is fixing it today.
We're less than 2 weeks away now from the August 2nd big tariff deadline. Has the president spoken with his Canadian counterpart, the new Prime Minister?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe he has, but I can check in with the president and get you a firm answer on that. But my understanding is they haven't spoken, and the president has been very clear about his intention for April 2nd. It's going to be a big day for our country. I would encourage all of you to be here to cover the White House that day on April 2nd, because there will be big announcements when it comes to reciprocal trade. And the president will be highlighting the unfair trade practices, the ways in which America has been ripped off by every country around the world, quite frankly. And there will be big tariffs that will be going into effect, and the president will be announcing those himself.
The European Union had a decision yesterday against Apple and Google. Are you familiar with that? And is there anything the president, is that a response to the April 2nd tariffs?
I think we've seen a lot of movement actually around the world of countries who are lessening their tariffs. I know the EU also paused their alleged tariff on whiskey. And so I think you're seeing countries are taking the president seriously. They understand that he is going to do what's right for American workers and families. And so the president and his team are in constant communication with our EU counterparts, but also our counterparts around the world.
You listed off some of the failures over the last 30 years from the Department of Education. So for critics, what has been the ROI on $3 trillion going to a failing education system?
It's a great question. Nothing. And that's exactly why the president is signing the order later today.
With the executive order today, is it also the goal to eventually be spending less in federal dollars on education?
Of course. It's our goal to reduce the size and scale of this government across every agency, which is why you've seen very strong and quick actions taken to reduce the amount of money that federal taxpayers are paying on a system that is failing them and their families.
I mean, don't you want our kids to get better test scores? I mean, we're probably one of the lowest in the country, or any country. It's pretty disgusting, actually.
Like eventually downsizing some of the programs that are run out of the education department currently?
It means stopping the wasteful spending, and as I said, critical programs will be protected.
So, Caroline, we have this noon deadline looming for this D.C. judge, for the DOJ, to turn over these documents when it comes to the time logs of these deportation flights. Is the administration going to turn over that information, the exact time logs, the information that the D.C. court is asking for?
I won't get ahead of our lawyers, but you'll hear from them in court.
And a follow-up question. The Commerce Secretary yesterday said that Tesla stock is something that Americans should be buying. Is that the stance of the administration, that people should be investing in? Is that something that the Commerce Secretary should be recommending?
I think the Commerce Secretary was reiterating that the president supports an American-made company like Tesla, who produces a very good product for the American people, which was beloved by the American people, particularly Democrats, until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. And now we've seen despicable and unacceptable violence taking place across our country at Tesla dealerships against workers, employees, and also innocent Americans who drive these vehicles. It's actually a scary time in our country because of this political violence from the left, and the White House and the president's entire administration condemn it wholeheartedly.
Caroline? That's right, guys. That is disgusting. We condemn it. They condemn it. Whatever. Man, that's another reaction video down. Man, I'm so happy that you guys spent some time with me. I appreciate it. And here we go. And we are gonna go to the next one. But hey, thank you so much. We got 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe and share with a friend so we can have more and more family members involved. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.